It's running, so.
You want me to start?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Okay, so this is the debrief from our Korea bicycle trip. Isaac, I want you to look into the camera and say hello.
Hello.
Aga, I want you to look in the camera and say hello. Or you just look in the camera. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Of course, we had all these intentions of spending a lot of time recording, doing X, Y, and Z, and then of course it rained. But
got so many, my
so
mom.
we did a little bit of or I did a little bit of jabbering as usual at the beginning of the trip, but we never really talked after that.
That fell.
Okay, come on. This is what we talked about.
Be next to you.
So this is the debrief. I sort of wanted to divide this into 3 sections. Pat and I went through this. We'll give you some general thoughts on prep for the trip, then talk a little bit about the route we did, and then some other things that we're thinking about as you go along. You're going to hear a lot of noise in the room. I've got my lovely children here. Uncle Pat's used to it, so try to ignore it like I do. So the cost of the trip, the airplane ticket's going to run you $1,000 to $1,500 depending on the time of year you go. I recommend trying not to go through Japan. Going through Japan just takes time. Usually you have to go through an extra set of security. There's a whole bunch of reasons. I have nothing against Japan, but I've had a lot of experience where going through Narita is a problem. So we went Boston to Detroit to Seoul, and it was extremely easy. As to equipment, a big decision that you're going to have to make is whether you rent a bicycle or you rent a bicycle there or take your own. Of course, you can buy one while you're there, but I think buying one probably doesn't make a lot of sense. You're just going to run into a lot of money. Korea is, as I said in the beginning of the first video, is a first world developed country. The costs are very similar to what they are here in the United States. We rented bicycles. They were good bicycles. The place I talked about before, he has actually 2 websites, not one. You can go to either. His name was Mr. Lee. He did a good job. We got some flat tires. Those were new tubes that were in those tires, but the tires themselves were not new. They weren't especially rugged. I think they were normal. Those bikes were really meant to be day rentals. As day rentals, they were very good bicycles. For a 400-mile trip, we were definitely testing their capabilities. But I think overall, we were pretty pleased with it.
Yeah, the bikes worked well. Just had to deal with gear issues at occasion too, but finding the bike shops was somewhat challenging. We had when we did need to get it repaired, we relied on Jake, George's nephew, to help us there. So having somebody who spoke Korean is important.
Thank you, Jake. You were very helpful, pal.
And that's it for the trip and equipment. Should bring our own helmet. We did not bring our own helmets to use the ones that the bike shop gave us, and they were not the highest quality.
Although I did bang my head against a fence pretty hard, and I'm still here. So they certainly worked. But I can, speaking for the contingent of people who have big empty heads like mine, it was too small. Pat and I were really had to think about it going at first, but in the end we decided not to take them because it's kind of a pain in the rear end to pack. But it's worth. In retrospect, it would have been worth it. The only last thing I would say about equipment, Pat, if I were going to rent bicycles again, I would bring Kevlar tires and thorn-resistant tubes and have the people at the bike place install those on the bike. You can get that get up for probably $100, $120, and it wasn't that bad. You wouldn't have a flat tire. Almost certainly wouldn't have any flat tires. And we chewed up some time on flat tires.
And if not, just bring your own spare tube too.
Bring lots of spare tubes. Yeah, that was a mistake we made. I just want to throw a thing in about regular or clipped pedals, clipless pedals.
There are going to be a lot of hills, and if you're not 100% proficient with them, you should probably just not. They're not going to be worth the energy you save, because it's not that difficult of a trip to where you need clipped pedals to conserve energy.
That makes sense. And I think I would throw in there also, from my perspective, they were great on a hill that was like long and not too steep. But on a really steep hill, I thought that they were more of a hindrance than a help.
Yes.
Because if you're really trying to pedal up a hill and you're at the point where maybe you just have to decide, okay, now I've got to get off the bike real fast. I know I fell down a few times that way. I think that my setup was pretty good. I had these shoes that were reasonably comfortable to wear, and the pedals were such that you could clip on one side of them or ride them as regular street pedals on the other. That actually worked pretty well. It definitely doesn't go as fast if you're racing. I mean, it's not meant for that. But if I had to do it over again, I'd probably put just regular pedals on the bike.
I would use regular pedals too.
All right.
Going through the route quickly, from day 1 we went from Paldong to Yeoju. Day 2 we went from Yeoju to Chungju. Day 3 Chungju to Mongyang. Day 4 Mongyang to Gumi. And day 5 in Gumi we deviated from the Four Rivers Trail and we actually went to Songju to visit Jake's family's house. And so that's not something that most people would do. Then from Songju we went to Hapyeong. From Hapyeong to Anyang, and then on day 8 we went from Anyang to Busan.
That day 3 from Chungju to Mungyang has significant hills in it. I don't think it was the hardest day.
No, I would say day 2 was.
Day 2 was the hardest day. It was probably us getting conditioned partly, and if you want, there's a system in this. I described that Four Rivers project. Well, they put these little telephone booths along the way, and they give you a passport. If you want it, you can go buy it. I think it's $4 or $5, I think. And as you go along, you can stamp that passport book at with these special stamps. There's a different one in each location to prove that you went along, did the whole trail. And then you can go back to the office that gave you the passport, and they'll give you certificates and medals and all that. It sounds pretty neat. We didn't really bother with it, but Jake did. If you want to get all the stamps, you have to go to Chungju Dam. The hill up Chungju Dam is a big damn hill. It wasn't nearly as long as the one that you do from Chungju to Mungyang, but it was very, very steep, and it's at the end of the day, so be prepared for that. Can you pause it for a second?